Okay, hi everybody. This is Mimi Wu. It's 2 o'clock right now, so we'll go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone. Currently, you're in listen only. You should be able to hear us through your computer speakers. We're going to take questions at the end of this webinar using the chat box on the bottom left side of your screen. We're going to answer them during the last 10 minutes of the webinar, but please feel free to go ahead and type in your questions as they come to you, and we will try to answer as many as we can. And all right, let's get started. So as I said, my name is Mimi Wu. I'm a nutritionist with the Nutrition Education Training and Technical Assistance Division at USDA's Food and Nutrition Service and Child Nutrition Programs. Thank you all so much for joining us for the 4th webinar in our monthly CACFP Halftime 30 on Thursdays webinar series. These webinars are held on the 3rd Thursday of every month in both English and in Spanish. The English webinar will be held from 2 to 2:30 Eastern Time, and the Spanish webinar will be held after the English webinars from 3 to 3:30 Eastern Time. These webinars will be recorded and made available at a later date on the Team Nutrition website. And again, as I just mentioned, we're going to take some time at the end of the webinar to answer your questions, but please feel free to type in your questions as they come into your head. So, as you may know, Team Nutrition is an initiative of the USDA Food and Nutrition Service that supports child nutrition programs, including the National School Lunch Program, School Breakfast Program, and of course, the Child and Adult Care Food Program, or CACFP. The goal of Team Nutrition is to improve children's lifelong eating and physical activity habits through nutrition education based on the principles of the Dietary Guidelines for Americans and My Plate. It does so through training and technical assistance for those preparing and serving meals, providing nutrition education for children, and building support for healthier school and child care environments. Team Nutrition provides a number of free nutrition education and technical assistance materials that the public can access through our website. And thank you for joining us for today's webinar on meal planning for the CACFP. The next webinar will be held in a month on March 15th, where we will discuss serving meat and meat alternates at breakfast. And then on April 19th, we will discuss offer versus serve in the CACFP. We realize the titles of these webinars and materials may mention CACFP by name, but these trainings and materials can also be helpful for those of you working with the preschool or pre-K meal patterns and the National School Lunch, School Breakfast, or After-School Snacks programs. Everyone is welcome to attend and download and use our resources. And as you know, those of you attending the webinar for the entire 30 minutes today will receive a certificate. It takes us a little bit of time to process the certificates, so you should be receiving them on Tuesday, February 20th, likely towards the end of that day. Please wait until after February 20th before inquiring about your certificates, and also be sure to check your spam and junk mailboxes before asking about your certificate. And of course, if you're attending the webinar with others, please print the certificate for everyone watching with you. As I mentioned earlier, these webinars will be recorded each month and posted to our Team Nutrition website. The link to the webinar page on the Team Nutrition website is listed at the bottom of the slide here. Okay, so before we get started, we want to know who you are. Please go ahead and select one of the following options listed on the slide here. Are you with a USDA regional office, state agency, school food authority, sponsor, after-school center, adult daycare, child daycare, a daycare home, emergency shelter, or others? Let's see who you are. Wonderful. Wow, we have a lot of people from all different places, and wherever you are and wherever you came from, we're just so glad to have you with us today. So let's get started. As you know, today's topic is meal planning for the CACFP, and we will cover how the CACFP meal pattern can help you plan tasty, healthy, and appealing meals for the children and adults in your program. Many of the examples I talk about today come from the 4 posters in our Serve Tasty and Healthy Foods in the CACFP poster series, which are available on the Team Nutrition website. You will receive a link to these posters in your post-webinar email. For those of you participating in any USDA child nutrition program, such as CACFP, National School Lunch or School Breakfast, Summer Meals, you can also order these posters in print for free. You'll receive a link to the order form in your post-webinar email. And so as many of you know, the update to the CACFP meal pattern that was released in April 2016 were the first major changes to the nutrition standards since CACFP began in 1968. These updates will help make sure children and adults served by the CACFP have even more access to healthier meals and snacks throughout their days. Healthier meals and snacks will help kids get the nutrition they need to learn, grow, and play. For adults, these updated guidelines also help make sure the adults being served in the program stay healthy. Teen Nutrition created the Growing a Healthier Future with a CACFP infographic that you see on the screen to highlight how foods served in the CACFP can have a positive impact on the health of the children and the adults you serve. As shown in the infographic, right now less than 10% of kids get enough vegetables. The updates to the meal pattern separated fruits and vegetables into two different components at lunch, supper, and snack, which gives more opportunities to introduce and serve vegetables to children and adults throughout the day. In addition to making fruits and vegetables separate components at lunch, supper, and snack, you can also serve a second vegetable in place of fruits at lunch and supper. Here, you see that the lettuce and the tomatoes in the taco meet the minimum quarter cup of vegetables required for 3 to 5-year-olds at lunch or supper. The quarter cup of sweet potatoes are served in place of the required quarter cup of fruit. This is a great way to offer more vegetables throughout the day. Remember that you can also combine different vegetables to meet the minimum serving size requirements. For example, for adults, if you're serving vegetables at snack, the minimum serving size would be half a cup. Here, a quarter cup of cherry tomatoes and a quarter cup of cucumber slices are served together in order to meet this half cup requirement. So now, let's talk about whole grains. As shown in the infographic, kids 1 to 13 years old get up to twice the amount of refined grains that they should, but not enough whole grains. Whole grains naturally have nutrients and fiber that both kids and adults need for energy and to stay healthy. The updated CACFP meal pattern now requires that at least 1 grain food served per day be whole grain rich. Foods that are 100% whole grain or have at least 50% whole grain and the remaining grains enriched are considered whole grain rich. You can serve whole grains at breakfast, such as whole grain ready-to-eat cereals, oatmeal, and whole wheat toast or whole wheat bagels. Cereals served in the CACFP must meet the sugar limit of no more than 6 grams of sugar per dry ounce. Remember that some grain products commonly served at breakfast may also be whole grain rich, such as pancakes and waffles. And also, you can serve whole grain rich foods at lunch or supper, such as brown rice and pita bread, as shown on the screen, or even at snack. Whole grain rich mini bagels, whole grain crackers, and whole wheat tortillas can also be great choices at snack. Whole grain rich foods must be served once per day, and of course you can also serve them more than once per day, as shown on this poster. Here, you can see whole grain rich cereal is served at breakfast, and then brown rice, which is a whole grain, is served at lunch, both on the same day. So now, let's take a pop quiz. Answer true or false. I can serve whole grain rich foods at breakfast, lunch, supper, or snack. Wonderful. Most of you all answered that perfectly. So the answer is true. Whole grain rich foods should be served at least once per day in the CACFP. And again, this can be at breakfast, at lunch, at supper, or at snack. Try serving whole grain rich foods at different meals throughout the week, such as brown rice for lunch on Monday, oatmeal for breakfast on Tuesday, or whole wheat crackers at snack on Wednesday. This gives everyone a chance to try whole grains and learn that whole grains can fit into the day in many different ways. As a CACFP best practice, you can also serve whole grain rich foods twice or more per day. In addition to increasing opportunities to serve In addition to increasing opportunities to serve vegetables and whole grains, the CACFP meal pattern can also help lower the amount of added sugars that kids and adults get during the day. On average, kids 9 to 13 years old eat between 17 and 22 teaspoons of sugar per day. The updates to the meal pattern requires a sugar limit on the amounts of sugar in cereals and in yogurt. As we've talked about on previous webinars, cereals served in the CACFP must have no more than 6 grams of sugar per dry ounce. Yogurt served in the CACFP must have no more than 23 grams of sugar per 6 ounces. There are many cereals and yogurts that fall within the sugar limit. If you need help finding yogurts or cereals to meet these sugar limits, you can watch our recorded CACFP halftime webinars on choose breakfast cereals that are lower in added sugars and choose yogurts that are lower in added sugars, and also contact your state agency or sponsoring organization. The updated CACFP meal patterns also no longer allow grain-based desserts such as toaster pastries, donuts, and granola bars. This gives you a chance to serve other foods to give participants the nutrients needed for good health. One way you can do this is to take advantage of the option to serve meat and meat alternates at breakfast up to 3 times per week. This means that you can now serve eggs, yogurt, turkey sausage, cheese, peanut and soy butter, and more, and have it count towards a reimbursable meal. You can do this up to 3 days per week, no matter how many times per week your center or home is open. We will continue this in much more detail during next month's CACFP halftime webinar, so please stay tuned. Okay. And now here's another pop quiz. We realize that some of you might be having technical difficulties with the slide, and we apologize for that. This will be recorded, and we will do our best to make sure you get what you need. So for those of you who are able to do the poll, true or false, please answer this question. I can now serve eggs at breakfast as part of a reimbursable meal. Okay. Great, you guys are so fast, and the answer is true. Eggs are a meat alternate, and meat and meat alternates can be served in place of grains up to 3 times per week at breakfast. You can also serve yogurt, cottage cheese, lean meats, peanut butter, other cheeses, and more. Again, our webinar next month will do a much deeper dive into serving meat and meat alternates at breakfast in the CACFP, so please be sure to join us next month. And finally, for those of you serving adults, there are 2 options that can be used as related to milk. The first is that at supper only, milk is optional. This means that the required components at supper only and only for adults are vegetables, fruit, grains, meat, and meat alternates. And of course, water should be offered and made available throughout the day. The second meal planning option for adults only is that the yogurt can be served in place of milk once per day. So, as listed on the purple box in the picture, the required components at breakfast are milk, vegetables or fruit, and grains. As you can see in the breakfast shown on the slide, which has scrambled eggs, fruit salad, and yogurt, the yogurt takes the place of milk. The slide shows breakfast, but yogurt can also be substituted for milk at lunch as well, or supper. If you're serving yogurt in place of milk, the yogurt cannot also count as a meat alternate in the same meal. And again, this applies to adult participants only. The concepts we talked about today in the CACFP meal pattern can be used to meet many aspects of best practices in menu planning, including balance, variety, contrast, color, and eye appeal. Many whole grain rich foods are great for providing balance to strong flavors. Whole wheat bread with chili, crackers or pita bread with hummus and other flavorful dips, and brown rice with stir fry are all examples of how grains can be used to balance flavors in a meal. This will help make sure that the meal does not have too many strong or competing flavors. Balance also means serving heavier dishes and entrees with lighter side items. One example might be a grilled cheese sandwich, which tends to be a little bit heavier, with fresh blueberries or steamed broccoli to lighten up the meal. The requirement to serve whole grain-rich foods once per day means you can offer variety throughout the week by serving different kinds of whole grain-rich foods and serving them at different meals or snacks during the week, and also preparing them in different ways. Here you can see whole grain tortillas as part of a quick quesadilla in the top picture, and red beans and rice made with brown rice in the bottom picture. Serving meat and meat alternates at breakfast up to 3 times per week can also help you bring variety to your menu. You can also use different cooking methods to add variety. For example, just as whole grains are prepared in different ways, you can also try serving vegetables prepared in different ways, such as raw, roasted, steamed, or broiled throughout the week. You can also serve a vegetable by itself, such as a side of roasted broccoli, or with other foods, such as the spinach that you see in the picture of the quesadilla. Fruit and vegetables can be used to add color, contrast, and eye appeal. Try adding some color to your meals with a pop of colorful, fresh fruit, such as a topping for pancakes or hot and cold cereals. Mix and match different colors in a fruit and veggie-filled tropical bean salad like you see on the slide. Serve vegetables and fruits by themselves as a side, such as the gingered carrots that you see in the middle picture. Or use fun, colorful vegetables in a chicken dish or stew like chicken ratatouille. And you can add contrast to your meals and snacks by serving different tastes, textures, and temperatures. One example might be crunchy vegetables with a smooth, creamy yogurt dip. You can also add contrast in textures, temperatures, and tastes by serving savory scrambled eggs, which are warm, with yogurt and fruit, which are sweet and cold. The fruit chunks also add a nice bite and difference in texture from the softer eggs and yogurt. Finally, since we eat with our eyes, you can add eye appeal to meals by cutting or arranging foods in different shapes, leaving space between foods as you are putting them on a plate, and using different colors and sizes and kinds of serving containers, plates, cups, bowls, spoons, etc. On the slide, you see on top that the baked au lait, the mashed whipped sweet potatoes, and the tabbouleh salad are arranged on plates or in bowls of different sizes and colors, and paired with colorful utensils and placemats, all of which can help show off the food and add eye appeal to your meal. So, we will be taking questions in a few minutes, so please go ahead and continue or start typing them now into the chat box on your screen. And as we mentioned in the beginning, those of you attending the webinar for the entire 30 minutes today will receive a certificate via email. It does take our team a little bit of time to process the certificates, so you should be receiving them on Tuesday, February 20th, likely towards the end of that day. Please wait until after February 20th before inquiring about your certificates. Also, be sure to check your spam and junk mailboxes before inquiring. And of course, again, if you're viewing the webinar with many people or multiple people, you can print out a certificate for each person. If you'd like to practice more practice questions are available on the National CACFP Sponsors Association website at www.cacfp.org/30onthursdays, and we'll include this link in your follow-up email. And you can also submit or track continuing education credits at that webpage as well. This webinar is being recorded and will be made available on the Team Nutrition website, and all registered participants will receive an email once this recording is available. Those of you who want to watch the recorded webinar and want to receive a certificate can go to the National CACFP Sponsors Association website at www.cacfp.org/30onthursdays to complete the post-webinar practice questions and then receive your certificate. Those certificates may take a couple of days to be sent as well. As we mentioned in the beginning, the next webinar will be held on March 15th, where we will discuss serving meat alternates at breakfast. And on April 19th, we will discuss offer versus serve in the CACFP. And again, we realize the titles of these webinars and worksheets may mention CACFP by name, but they can also be useful for those working with a preschool or pre-K meal patterns in the National School Breakfast, School Lunch, or After-School Snacks program. And of course, we welcome everyone to attend and download and use our resources. And just a reminder that the Growing a Healthier Future with the CACFP infographics, as well as the Serve Tasty and Healthy Foods in the CACFP posters, are all available on the Team Nutrition website. The web address is at the bottom of your screen, and you will also receive a link to this post-webinar email containing your certificate. So there's a lot of things coming to you on February 20th. And another team nutrition resource that you might be interested in is the standardized recipes for the CACFP collection, now available on the Team Nutrition website. We have been developing a series of recipes specifically for CACFP settings. These recipes come in yields of 6, 25, and 50 and include crediting information. Many of the dishes and sides shown and mentioned on the previous slides, as well as the ones shown on this slide, can be found on this webpage. To explore more Team Nutrition materials, visit Team Nutrition's website at https://teamnutrition.usda.gov and click on Resource Library on the left toolbar to see all of our resources that are available online. And many of our Team Nutrition resources are available as a PDF on our website and are available for free download to anyone who's interested. For all those participating in a child nutrition program, such as CACFP, you can also order print materials for free. If you'd like to order free materials, you can go to the resource order form on the Team Nutrition website on the left to order print copies of these materials. And thank you all so much for your time and attention today. Apologies for any technical difficulties. Please feel free to visit our website, subscribe to our monthly e-newsletter, connect with us via email at teamnutrition@fns.usda.gov, and follow us on Twitter. And now we will take some questions. In the room with me are Xavier Davis and Kenya Pennington, two colleagues here at USDA's Child Nutrition, who will be helping me with asking and answering and facilitating your questions.
Okay, Mimi, so the first question we have is, how can I tell how much a food will credit towards a meal or snack?
That's a great question. Okay, so the food buying guide for child nutrition programs will help you buy the right amount of food and determines how and if it credits for a meal or snack. The food buying guide is available as an interactive web tool and an app. They can be found on the Team Nutrition website, and we can send out a link to this resource in the post-webinar email that you guys will get on February 20th. You can also check out the standardized recipes for the CACFP on the Team Nutrition webpage that we mentioned earlier, as all of those recipes also have crediting information. And again, we'll send out the link to that in the post-webinar email as well.
Okay, another question we have is, I don't have much staff in the afternoon. What are some snacks that are easy to serve?
That's another great question. So snacks in CACFP, remember, they can be made up of any 2 out of the 5 components. The 5 components, as you all know, are milk, fruit, vegetables, grains, and meat and meat alternates. So again, you only need 2 out of those 5. So some snacks that don't require much preparation and that use 2 different components might be fruit cups and crackers, so that would give you fruit and grains, cereal and milk, so again, grains and milk, cereal and yogurt, so cereal would be grains and yogurt is your meat alternate, low-fat string cheese with fruit or veggies, mini bagels with nut butter, whole grain pita or tortilla wedges served with salsa. So those are just some ideas. You can definitely, feel free to try some before adding it to your menu permanently, see what the kids or the adults like, things like that.
Okay, another question we have is, if I only serve 1 meal, do I need to serve whole grain foods at that meal?
That's a good question too. So if the meal you're serving has grain as a required component, so that would be breakfast, lunch, or supper, and that's the only thing that you're serving as part of CACFP that day, then yes, the grain you offer during that meal has to be whole grain rich. If you are serving a meat alternate in place of a grain at breakfast, then you wouldn't need to serve any grains at that breakfast. So again, if you're serving a meat alternate in place of a grain at breakfast, you do not need to serve any grains at that breakfast. Grains are not required at snack because, as we just said, at snack you only need to serve 2 different components. If you serve grains at snack and that's the only snack or meal you serve that day through CACFP, then yes, that grain food you serve at snack would have to be whole grain rich.
Okay. Another question is, can I serve 2 different fruits instead of a fruit and vegetable at lunch?
Great. So the update to the CACFP meal pattern means that fruits and vegetables are now 2 separate components at lunch, supper, or snack. This means you must serve at least 1 vegetable and 1 fruit at lunch, or 2 different vegetables. You can serve 2 fruits by combining 2 different fruits to make up the minimum serving size of the fruit component. So for example, the fruit requirement at lunch for 3 to 5-year-olds is at least a 1/4 cup of fruit. So you could serve an eighth cup of strawberries and then an eighth cup of blueberries, and that would give you your quarter cup of fruit. Or you could serve a quarter cup of one of the fruits and then just serve the other fruit as an additional food.
Okay, another question is, how much yogurt should I serve to my 1 through 2-year-olds at breakfast?
Great. So, and that refers to the serving meat and meat alternates instead of grains at breakfast, which we'll cover next month. But if you serve meat or meat alternates at breakfast, the meat or meat alternate must replace the entire grain component. This means 1 ounce equivalent of meat and meat alternate is equal to 1 serving of grains. For a 1 and 2-year-old, the required minimum amount of grains at breakfast is half a serving. So this means you should serve a half an ounce equivalent of meat alternatives at breakfast. 2 ounces or 1/4 cup of yogurt is equal to 1 ounce equivalent of meat and meat alternates. So therefore, you should serve 2 ounces or a quarter cup of yogurt at breakfast to this age group. If that was confusing, I'm sorry, but the good news is that we have a worksheet called Serving Meat and Meat Alternates at Breakfast that lists common meat and meat alternates that can be served at breakfast and how much of that food you should serve for each age group. So it'll tell you how many eggs you would need to serve a 1 to 2-year-old, how many beans, different kinds of meat and meat alternates, and that'll be easy for you guys to look up what you need. So this worksheet and topic will be the focus of our CACFP halftime webinar in March, so be sure to tune in. And in the meantime, the worksheet is currently available on the Team Nutrition website in English, and we'll go ahead and send out a link to that in the post-webinar email as well.
Okay, another question we have here is, what is the Team Nutrition website for recipes?
The Team Nutrition website for recipes, okay, so I put it up on the screen. It's https://www.fns.usda.gov/TN/CACFP-recipes. So I'll just leave it up there if you want to take a screenshot or anything, or write it down. And again, we're going to include it in the post-webinar email that you guys will get on February 20th. Great question.
Okay, another question we have is, do mixed vegetables count as a vegetable?
Yes, if all the vegetables, yes, mixed vegetables do count as one vegetable, right? So we're talking like a carrot, peas, and corn. If they're ever mixed together, yes, they count as one vegetable.
Okay. Another question here is Greek yogurt creditable if it meets the sugar limit?
Yes, Greek yogurt is creditable if it meets the sugar limit, and you would credit it the same way you would credit soy yogurt or any other kind of yogurt.
In NSLP, here's another question, I'm sorry guys. In NSLP, we have to offer the different color food groups during the week. Is there a similar requirement in the CACFP for pre-K?
Hi everyone. No, there is no requirement in CACFP, the pre-K meal patterns, to serve a vegetable from each vegetable subgroup.
As a best practice, I believe, Kenya,
Yeah,
right?
it's a best practice.
As a best practice, you can try to serve at least one of the subgroups throughout the week. And that can be
something to strive for.
Something to strive for, and it could be something fun to do with your kids, you know, like, oh, let's try a red one on Tuesday, let's try a dark green one, things like that.
And we'll take one final question, which is, how do you know if something is considered a grain-based dessert? It seems the requirement is based on description rather than the nutrients of the item.
I would definitely recommend checking the Exhibit A. It's in one of our more recent memorandums. I don't remember the exact code, but it came out June 30th, 2017. And you are correct that with CACFP, it is based off of the description and perception of the item. So if it looks like a cookie and tastes like a cookie, it is probably a cookie. And so we just really encourage our program operators to use their discretion and think about how the item will be perceived to their participants.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. That's all we have for today. I see in the question box we've got lots of questions about proteins and meat alternates and things like that, so we definitely will cover that next month. So that means you guys have to come back and join us on March 15th. Thank you all so much, and again, you will receive your post-webinar email and certificates on February 20th. Have a great day. Woohoo!